Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a good day. I'd like to speak to you from my heart today as it relates to the murder of George Floyd. I am based in the UK, but I came across this video on Instagram, and to be honest, I did not have the courage to watch the whole video to the end because just what I saw churned my stomach. To see another human being place his knee on the neck of a human and taunt him as he watched him gasp and ask for help. He says, I cannot breathe. And as he was saying, I cannot breathe, the police officer was taunting him. And eventually his blood started to flow on those streets, if it was blood that I saw. But he died eventually at the hand of that police officer. To see the other police officers who stood and protected the person who had his knee on George Floyd's neck to keep passerbys away because passerbys were trying to intervene. But those police officers used their badge and protected a murderer in broad daylight as he killed another human being. It just beggars belief to think that the United States is a first world country, but the brutality and the unfairness and the sheer wickedness that was displayed in broad daylight is something that you would expect from a third world country. Those police officers, they acted as if they're above the law, and in all possibilities they probably are, because till date justice still hasn't been served. The process is going very slowly. Yes, there've been arrests, but not enough has been done in the time frame. And so I just need to talk to you about this today because I saw a post by Color of Change saying and asking people to provide videos to just express what their idea of justice for Floyd means. And to me, what justice for Floyd means is change. My godson, he's 10 now, but about 2 years ago, his father wanted him and his family, his mother and the family, and like his siblings, to go over to the States. And this boy would not go. He cried. He said, "No, I don't want to die." He's a black boy. He reads the news, he listens to the news, and he reads newspapers. So he's seen been happening in America. And so America as a superpower has a perception from other countries. This little boy already knows what's happening there, and he said he refused to go. His father was ready to pay for this holiday for the family. They needed the holiday, but because of that child, they couldn't go. They didn't go. I came across also a post by Lewis Howes on his Instagram account, and he posted a picture of an interaction that he had with Gary, someone called Gary, who I think he plays a sport. I don't know. I don't know what sport it was. And the black guy was expressing to Lewis how he had been stopped by the police and placed in jail, and the reason for that is driving whilst black. What sort of crime is that? To be driving whilst black and you get stopped and placed in jail for doing absolutely nothing. So now, to me, this needs to stop. So justice for Floyd, to me, means things like that need to stop. Unlawful detainment of black men just because they're driving nice cars. If they're speeding or drinking and driving and they're over the limit, then by all means, follow the procedure and stop them and do whatever you need to do. But unlawful stopping of black men unnecessarily, abuse and murder of black men. George Floyd is one of them, but his case has really struck a chord in my heart. Murdering of young black men, that needs to stop. And so it's not a case to me of a police officer being arrested and a case study or an example be made of that one police officer, because the reality is he might be detained, he might lose his job. When we all quiet down, he gets his job back. I'm sure that's happened in the past. But what I really want to just encourage everybody out there listening is, do not let this go away. Do not let this become a hashtag that eventually just goes away, because I believe that the powers that be are used to you looting, getting angry, expressing your anger in violent ways, as some people are, and that needs to stop, obviously. And then things go back to normal. This cannot be allowed to happen again. So justice for Floyd, what that means to me is that there needs to be change in the police system across all 50 states. If I have the number correct, there needs to be a change. Evil, we will always have evil with us, but those officers need to be subject to the law. So when people say all lives matter, it ignores the fact that a young man was running the other day and he got shot by white men, a father and his son. That contradicts the statement all lives matter. In days of old, like my parents would say to me, don't go partying, don't do like crazy things like that. So you want to protect your kids, just say don't go partying, don't do drugs. That's how you protect, that's your way of protecting them. But in this day and age, you could just be doing something as simple as running, exercising, and you get killed because you were black. That needs to stop. It needs to stop. So justice for Floyd, and George Floyd, he represents every single person who has been killed unjustly. He represents future generations of young black people coming up in America. Because the reality is, yes, I live in the UK, and I'm not necessarily directly affected by it, but my kids might want to go live in the States. What happens then if I turn my back on the situation and say, oh, it doesn't bother me? So justice for Floyd to me means that there's a change in every state, that it's made criminal for an officer to place himself or herself, as the case may be, above the law and take the life of another human being, another black person. That needs to stop. So if it happens, then there needs to be life imprisonment for that officer in every state. So those who are in powers of authority need to look at changing the laws, and it's going to take consistent effort. So my message out to everyone listening right now is, if you are a member of a church, a mega church, I believe that the America and the mega churches in the States are in a good place to actually turn things around for people, and to give the people who do not have a voice, they can speak on their behalf. So if you're a member of a mega church, speak to your pastor and ask them what their position is. Ask them what conversations have been had. Ask them what they're doing to actually make a change as it relates to George Floyd. If you're a member of a smaller church, speak to your pastor, email them, text them, do whatever you need to do, and ask them if they're going to be getting involved with other bigger churches to make your voice count. As a person, you don't have to be black. You could be white, because the reality is there's a lot of intermarriages are happening these days. So your family could start off a nice white family, but you could end up being a blended family. Your daughter or your son could decide to get married to a dashing young black man or a beautiful black woman who may already have kids. And what happens is that you now have a blended family, and that family that has come into your family is at risk. They're unsafe based on the laws that are in the United States right now. So if you're a member of a church, like I said, get in touch with your pastor and find out what they're doing to make things change, what discussions they're having to bring about a change. If you are a therapist or a psychologist, somebody who has skills, I believe that the recruitment process for police officers needs to change. Now, just imagine this. Well, you don't even have to imagine it. You can go on Instagram or YouTube and watch the video. One human has his knee on another human and taunts him as he dies. This police officer, I believe, must be deranged. Like, he cannot be a human with a heart. For you to do that to another human being, there's something wrong. So I believe that the recruitment process for police officers across all states needs to change. I believe that there needs to be an assessment of their history, their mental history. I know that people have grown up under different circumstances. Some people have been under abusive relationships with their family. Some have experienced death. Some have experienced quite horrific things. Now, if those issues are not dealt with, and those people then grow up and go into the police force, and they are tasked with protecting citizens. But because they have this issue, hatred for a particular sect, hatred within themselves for people in general, and you give them a weapon, you're literally empowering them to kill. If you have a child, you're a mother or you're a father, you have a child that you need a nurse for your, you need someone to look after your child. You're not just going to just hire anyone. You're going to look at their references, look at their history to make sure that they actually love children, because you want them to look after your children whilst they're under their care. So it's really the same thing. This test sort of applies with doctors. When doctors are looking after patients, they have to have a love for people. Police officers have to have a love for people because they are walking the streets with weapons. And so they need to be aware that they're out there to protect not just one people, they need to protect all people. And for too long, Black lives have not been protected. For too long, Black lives have been wasted. The blood of Black people have run through the streets. Now, we're not talking about the days of slavery. In the days of slavery, some white people thought that Black people were animals, that Black people were monkeys. But I believe that there's been enough enlightenment, enough Black people have been to hospitals, so you know that the blood of a Black person is red and not green or orange. We're human just like you. We might have a little bit more melanin in our skin, but we're human just like you. We have the same desires, the same passions, the same dreams. We want the same things in life. It might take us through different routes, but ultimately we want the same things in life. Our skin is just different. That's all. That's all that there is to it. There are ignorant Black people out there, like the people who are looting and burning up businesses, but that's because they're angry. I'm not justifying it, but it's because they're angry and they feel like they don't have a voice. But there are also ignorant white people out there. Okay, so the Black people don't get to be called thugs just because they're acting that way, because they're angry and they have a reason to be angry, but they need to be directed in the right path. So if you have a skill like you're a therapist, you're a psychologist, something like that, and you have other contacts who are of the same profession, get together, rally together, see how you can support and help those people who are doing crazy things out there. Talk to each other and see how you can bring your skills to the recruitment process for police officers. I believe that needs to happen. If you are a pop star, you're an R&B artist, you're a successful person in that field, in the music industry, get together with your other successful friends, white, Black, Asian, whatever color you may be, whatever race, this affects you too. Get together and see how you can make your voice, how you can make your influence count. If you're just one lone person and you belong to, like I said, a church, make sure your voice counts. Make sure you get your pastor to be accountable. Find out from him or her what they're doing to make their voice heard on this issue. If you belong to a mega church and your pastor has not said anything on social media about the death of George Floyd, ask them why. If you're white, you're Black, you need to speak up. It's time to speak up. It's time for change to happen. It's time for the streets of America in every city, in every state to be made safe for all people. We're not asking as Black people for preference. No, we're not asking for preference. We want to be made subject to the law just like everybody else. But what we do not want is to be doing ordinary things and to be treated in such a brutal and inhumane manner in 2020. We're not talking about the 1800s. We're talking about 2020 in broad daylight. These police officers knew that they were being videoed. They didn't care. That's how much confidence they have in the system. The system does not work because it's not protecting all people. It needs to change. It needs to change. And this has to go beyond being a hashtag. It has to go beyond being something that we talk about for a little while and then we go back to our conferences or we go back to our businesses. No, do what you're doing. I'm not saying stop your life and just focus on this, but in addition to what you're doing, please make this a priority. Make this an issue of focus. Keep going at it. It might start with one state. It might start with one state changing their laws, and then it goes on to another state. If you're a lawyer, you have a group of lawyers, you're a doctor, get together, talk to each other and see how you can make your voice count and how you can bring about change in every state. Because your children might decide to travel to a different state. They might decide to intermarry. And then what happens then if they are made subject to the same brutality as George Floyd? So if you're human, if you have a heart, it's time for you to act. If you are a teenager, because this is going to take a concerted effort. It's not an opportunity for anybody to be glorified. It's about unity. If you're a teenager, you've witnessed racism of any kind. You're a white boy, you've witnessed your black friends being treated in a racist manner. Make your videos, put it online, talk about it, talk about this, because it can no longer be allowed to happen. Because right now it might be an issue for black people, but tomorrow it could be your issue. So what I'm saying today is justice for Floyd means change. Justice for Floyd means unity. Justice for Floyd means bringing your skills, your resources, your influence to the table. Justice for Floyd means opening up your mouth and speaking. It doesn't. I have no contacts, but I have a phone. I can make a video. I have my fingers. I can write. And I'm going to do that. So whatever I can do to make my voice heard and to contribute to the change from my end, I encourage you to do the same. We need justice for Floyd. He says, I can't breathe. And yet the police officer kept his knee on his neck and allowed him to die. That was somebody's brother. That was somebody's son. If you've ever lost a loved one, you can just try and put yourself in the position of the people who've experienced this loss and who've been impacted by his loss. So speak up. Justice for Floyd requires everyone. Black, white, Asian, yellow, brown, pink, whatever color you are, it doesn't matter. If you've got red blood flowing through your veins, it's time for you to speak up. We need justice for Floyd. We need justice for all people. We need all lives to matter. Right now, black lives are being treated as if they don't matter, but we do matter. We're not animals. We're humans just like you. Okay? So speak up, please. And tag in Color of Change. I hope I have their name correct. Color of Change. And spread it wherever you can. Post it on your Instagram, your TikTok, your Snapchat. Just keep talking about it. Don't let this go away. We need change to happen. God bless you. Take it easy. Bye.